Hello students. Now, with starting from today, I am launching the series for advanced questions for JEE, that is JEE advanced questions, and also for the Olympiad students. That means this particular series is going to help those students in their preparation who have the target in the mind for the purely advanced to cracking the JEE advanced paper, and as well as for cracking the Olympiad paper, that is a Indian Physics Olympiad. Right. So how we are going to go about in this particular series, we are going to discuss question based concepts. That means you will be picking up a question and you will actually check upon that what all concepts are basically required for solving that particular question, and through that we will be cracking the question itself and learning the methodology that whenever such kind of a question is going to approach to us, then how to basically tackle that question. As you all are aware that in JEE Advanced we don't get repetitive question. That means all the questions which you basically see in your paper are fresh questions. That means they are freshly grounded by the IITian faculties, which means that we must be having that adaptive nature, that ability to understand the concept behind the question and then able to apply it in a series of concepts. Mostly you will see that the advanced questions are not basically coming from a single concept, they are a multi-concept questions. And so that's what our idea is, to make the learning towards the next level, that is to understand the multi-concept questions. So I am beginning with the first question over here in this particular series, and this is a mechanics question. So I'll be labeling these questions as mechanics reason because now we cannot be basically talking about that this particular question is from a constrained motion, or this particular question is from a work energy, or is from the Newton law. So hence I am mentioning this as a mechanics problem, right? So let's move forward towards this problem and understand that what the statement says discretely. So now what the question statement is telling, let's read it properly. It says there is a dumbbell constructed by affixing small identical balls, each of mass m. So these are the two balls, the first ball and the second ball, and these are both identical balls. Both of them are carrying the mass m each at the ends of a light rod of the length L. So that means this rod is not having any mass, right? So the length of this is L. Stands vertically on a frictionless floor. So it's a smooth floor. So no friction force is going to act over here. So it's a smooth floor. If the lower ball is gently pushed away from the wall, in this idea, it might stay on forever. It might stay on forever, right? Now, it is pushed away from the wall. It is pushed away from the wall. So as it is pushed away from the wall, the dumbbell begins to slide. The dumbbell begins to slide. So first thing, why do we require a push? Reason because see, the center of gravity of this particular rod is going to be over here, and because of which there will be a force of gravity which is acting vertically down. So that's the mg force which is acting vertically down, and it is going to be a normal reaction force from the ground, not from the wall, ground. And that normal reaction force is going to act vertically up. So that is going to balance the weight of it, and hence it can stay in equilibrium in this position. Now what we are doing is serving that equilibrium such that the lower ball, what happens, let's see. So as we push on the lower ball, so what happens, this begins to slide. It begins to slide. Now the key point is that this ball is going to maintain the contact with the floor and contact with the wall, right? And this is a rod, so its length is not going to change. So this length is going to be intact, and as this moves on, the reason because there is no friction, so there is no stopping in this idea. So hence it is going to become like this in maybe the next position, like this. right? So this is how this particular dumbbell is moving now. Fine, right? Now, denoting the acceleration due to gravity by g, of course I used it for. Find expression for the speed of the lower ball when the upper ball is leaving the wall. So finding the expression for the speed of the lower ball when the upper ball is leaving the wall. So there are two balls, as we can see, and the question is regarding the motion of both the balls. First of all, the motion of both the balls is connected. So a lower version of this particular question can be that how are the velocities of these two particular balls to be connected? And that is basically an idea of the constraint motion. So first of all, let's deal with that question separately, where the question is entirely based upon the relation of the velocities of these two balls. So in a given position, let's say this is a condition and this angle is theta, because as it is sliding down, so this angle is changing every instant. Now there are two balls, so there are two velocities. The velocity of this ball is over here. Since it is moving along the x-axis, I mentioned this velocity as ux, and this ball is moving down, so I am mentioning this particular velocity as uy. Now how could I relate these particular velocity? That is by using the constraint. This particular length is not going to change. This length is not going to change. So what do? We take the component of the velocities, along this line. So if this is theta, so the component of this becomes ux cos theta. And similarly, since it is a 90 degree, so this angle is going to become as 90 minus of theta. So the component of the uy along this rod, that's equal to uy sin theta. And since it is inextensible, this cannot change its length, cannot compress, cannot expand. So these two components, that's uy sin theta and uy cos theta, this component and this component must be identical, such that this particular rod has correct tensile behavior or compressive behavior, whatever it is. It must have that correct behavior. It should not be over compressed. It should not try to expand, right? So therefore, these two components are going to be identical. So we equate these two components and we receive the first relation between the ux and uy via constraint behavior. So ux cos theta is equal to uy sin theta. From here we can have the relation that uy is equal to ux cos theta by sin theta, that becomes cot theta. So that becomes in your relation. That's your first relation over there. And that's the winding of the first concept which is applicable in this particular question. So what's that first concept which we have discussed? That's a concept 1 over here. That is supposed to be the constraint motion. That's the first thing which we have seen in this particular question. And now we need to move forward and understand what the rest of the question is all about. For that we have this ball. Which one? The upper ball leaving the contact with the wall. That's what the basic question is. When the upper ball is leaving the wall, so there might be some condition, and that's very easy to understand because the length is constant. So ultimately it will keep on moving. The lower ball will keep on moving, and so there must be some instant at some position where this length will completely come here. So it will leave the contact with this wall because the length is not expanding. So there will be some position where this lower ball will move enough forward such that the contact with the wall gets broken. But the question is about that particular instant. So let us construct that particular instant where this is just going to lose the contact. And let's assume that angle over there is theta, instantaneous angle over there when this happens. just before that instant, when it loses the contact, let's create the forces on it. So it is supposed to be the NX force, that's a normal from the wall in the X direction. There is a normal from the ground in the Y direction. And there is a weight, center of gravity, weight which is acting from here. So that will be the net weight, that should be 2 mg. That should be the 2 mg force which is acting from the center over here, because the net mass of the system is how much? 2 m. So these are the forces. There is no frictional force over there, right? There is no frictional force. Now, there should be a horizontal force, that is Nx, because the friction is not there. So there is no one balancing Nx. So there must be an acceleration, the center mass acceleration. Label this as Ax. And it is coming down also, as you can see, which means there is supposed to be a center mass vertical acceleration also. So that acceleration is supposed to be how much? That is supposed to be Ay. This was just happening just before the instant where the question is developed. Now what happens at this instant? At this instant, let's say at t equal to t naught, at this particular instant what is happening? This is losing the contact. If the ball is losing the contact, I have shown some air gap over there, which means the Nx must become equal to 0. Reason because it has left the contact, so the normal reaction from the ball becomes 0. And in the absence of friction, there isn't any horizontal force, because the friction is absent, so there is no horizontal force, which makes us understand, therefore, the horizontal acceleration is supposed to be equal to 0. So what's the second concept basically which we are using right now in this question? We are basically constructing the free body diagram, which takes this question into the Newton laws of the motion, and we are also using the center mass acceleration. So which highlights the concept 2 over here, that is basically of constructing of the free body diagram and also checking the COM acceleration. Right, so that's what the second idea of dealing with this problem is. So it makes the question special. Now, since Ax is 0, it opens up a little more. Now we need to relate this with what we have done just now before it. So what did we do? We basically checked on the velocities also. Now at this instant, this might be having some velocity as ux, and this will be having a velocity as uy. See, acceleration has become 0. That does not mean that uy will become 0, because it is already in motion. And there is a relation between them also, which we have checked upon. That the ux over there and the uy were related to each other. Check upon. We developed the relation uy as equal to ux cot theta. So that is ux cot theta. This is what we have already developed. Correct. Now, what is the meaning of ax0? nx0 gives us a concept, the acceleration horizontally becomes 0. But what does this mean? This means dux upon dt, that becomes 0. Now, by the mathematical behavior, we must say that, say, ux has become constant. Okay, I do understand that. So ux has become constant. So how? So we understand this idea. So understanding this particular idea may be like this, that what was happening, the center of gravity was coming down. Previously the center of gravity was here. And now as this rod is moving down, the center of gravity is going to pull down, because there is a gravity force acting on it. There is a gravity force acting on it over there. Right? So what is happening? Over here the gravity was acting on this vertically. So the center of gravity was falling. So there is a fall in the gravitation potential energy. And this is giving the kinetic energy. So that brings in the third concept, that there is supposed to be a loss in gravitation potential energy, bringing about an increase in the kinetic energy. So we are going towards either a work energy theorem or towards a energy transformation. Now, that's the third concept. But what does this makes us explain? That all this time the ux was increasing. Previously ux was 0 in this position. In this position the value for the ux was 0. and now there is an increment in the ux, and now it says dux upon dt becomes 0. That means ux was increasing. That means it would have reached its maximum value, and then it would have become constant, which explains to us that the ux over here has become maximum. One another day, you might get a question which can ask you, find the maximum speed of the lower ball. One another day. This question is not asking that, but the languages of the question can change very fast once the examiner wants to test you on a different note. So do understand this particular point also. Right now the question is not asking you in the language that it is maximum, but of course the ux has become maximum, correct? And now it's a very beautiful thing in this which might miss your behavior, See what is happening after this extent, that is t greater than t naught. There is no horizontal acceleration. The ux becomes constant, and what happens? There is still gravity force. There is still a gravity force. If there is still a gravity force, then what will happen? This is going to still come down over here, right? Because there is still gravity force. But now, because the horizontal force is not there, so hence the ux becomes constant. That's quite easy to understand. So ux increases and becomes constant because there is no horizontal force, so the ux will remain like that. Friction is not there, so it cannot reduce, and there is no force applied, which means the acceleration is also not there. So that makes you understand that ux is supposed to be maximum. Now the concept number 3. The concept number 3 is to use the energy transformation. So let's use that. That is a energy transformation. So see how many articles are getting revised via a single question. If I use the energy transformation over there, so let me write up the equation for that. So there is a loss of the gravitational energy. How much is that? Can you find out what is the loss? So currently, this will be lying there. This should be lying over here. If this is L, so that is the center of gravity. So this is the height over there. This is the height. So what is that particular height equal to? That should be L by 2 and sine theta. What is it? L by 2 sine theta. So the current height over here is L by 2 sine of theta. And when it was standing vertically, this height was supposed to be L by 2. And now this height is supposed to be L by 2 of sine theta. Because the length is L and the center of gravity is lying over here. So what is a loss? So the loss becomes twice of m. The total mass is 2m. That is twice of mg into L by 2 into 1 minus sine theta. That's the height through which the center of gravity comes down. Right? So total mass is 2 mg, don't make a mistake over there, into L by 2 into 1 minus sine theta should be equal to the kinetic energy for both of them. Loss in Gp equal to gain in kinetic energy, that is half into m ux square and plus half into m uy square. So we have come with a preparation till now. Both of their speeds are not the same and they are different, and how they are related we have already checked upon via the constraint relation in the concept number 1. So we are ready to go with this. Ready to go with the question where this 2 gets cancelled out, this m gets cancelled out, this 2 goes up, that is twice of gl into 1 minus sine theta and is equal to ux square and plus of uy square. That's the relation. Now you make the question answerable and what the question is demanding. The question is concentrated on ux. It says when it leaves the wall, so nx is 0, ax is 0. So question is on ux, not on uy. So eliminate uy. So what is ui? Ux cot theta. So that is ux square plus, instead of uy square, we have ux square cot square theta. So the overall relation now works upon as 2gl into 1 minus sine theta as equal to ux square into 1 plus cot square theta, that becomes cosecant square theta. Now when I focus upon the idea that the ux has got a maximum that is going to open up, that is going to open up the concept number 4, that you need to maximize this relation. You need to maximize the relation for the ux, and then you will get that position at which this happens. That means that particular angle at which this happens. Initially, this particular angle over there, this angle was 90, and this angle is keeping on changing. So we require this instantaneous angle at which this event is happening, at which it is leaving the wall, and that is only we can get if we use the fact that ux has become maximum. So that opens up the fourth concept over there, to use the maxima function over here. So let's try to do this, and writing this function as ux square as equal to twice of gl, 1 upon cosecant square theta is going to become sine square theta. So that is sine square theta into 1 minus sine theta. So that works upon as your ux square. And now we need to take this further, which makes us with the relation as the gl, that is twice of gl into sine square theta. Just check on the relation. That was 2gl sine square theta 1 minus sine theta. So I am just multiplying this. That will be sine square theta minus of sine cube theta. So that's sine square theta minus of sine cube theta, and that's the expression for your ux square. Now it brings in your the idea number 4, that is for the maxima minima. So we are using the idea of calculation of maxima and minima, right? So we have seen that how each of the concept becomes so important to reach to this particular question, right? And that makes you apart from the rest of the students. Now there might be that the question ends only at a constraint, might be the question asks you a generalized thing as it is asking in this question. I will come to that also. Right? The same question asked in a different mannerism also. Now I am going to differentiate this particular function with respect to theta. So that is twice of ux into dux upon d theta is equal to twice of gl. Differentiating this, so it should be twice of sine theta and into cos theta by the chain rule, and minus of thrice of sine square theta and into cos theta. Right? So that's what I have done. I have differentiated this, and then as a rule for the maxima minima, this term that is dux upon d theta, because I am maximizing this with respect to theta. So that dux upon d theta should become as equal to 0. So since dux upon d theta should become equal to 0, so therefore this particular term should become 0. So I have twice of sine theta cos theta as equal to 3 sine square theta cos theta. So what is happening? What is happening over here? I think you are able to generate your value. You are able to generate your value. How come? This sine theta and cos theta getting out, and I am receiving the value of sine theta as equal to 2 upon 3. So I am getting this particular angle. Of course, it's not a standard angle, but I don't care about it, whether it is standard angle or not. Every time the data cannot be set up for the standard values, we of course know that. So sine theta becomes 2 by 3, and now we need to calculate the value for the ux maximum by placing this value over here. Right? So this generates to me from here as ux square is equal to twice of gl. Of course, we will be doing a little faster while you are doing it yourself. I will be, if not explaining you right now, so we'll be doing the question a little faster. So overall time taken for this particular question may not exceed that what is the length of this particular video, right? It's an explanatory video. So 2gl into sine square theta, so square of this, that becomes 4 by 9, and minus of that sine cube theta, so that becomes as 8 upon 27, right? So that's 8 upon 27, fine. So we multiply it by 3, so you get 3 into 4, 12, so 12 minus 8, 4, so you get 2gl into 4 upon 27. Hence the value for the ux is equal to, and this ux is now maximum, correct? So that's the maximum value for the ux is equal to root of 8 GL upon 27, and that brings upon the end to the query which the question has posted. Let's get back and check whether we were able to answer what the question wanted. It wanted find expression for the speed of the lower ball. Of course you made that. You made the expression. That was expression over there. But the conditional we have when the upper ball is leaving the ball, and that opened up this whole idea. This opened up whole of this particular idea, and eventually we are able to find a value for the ux at the very instant when it leaves with the ball. So now the examiner decides one day that now I want to check you in a limited amount of time, don't want to take you to this particular length, right? So then it's almost the same question. It's almost the same question. The same languages. It's a frictionless wall, there is a frictionless floor, and everything is pushed towards the right. Everything is same. It has created an options for you. And what are the options? It says when the upper ball is leaving the wall. So the condition is also the same. What happens you need to check upon. What happens you need to check upon. So let me construct the diagram. Once again at the instant when it is going to leave. So that's the instant over there, correct? So what happened? This left the contact, so the nx was 0. And so the ax was 0. Was the normal from the y 0? No, definitely no. There was a contact over there, and there was of course the center of gravity force also acting over there, and there was supposed to be the ux also over here, and there is supposed to be the uy also over here, and ax has become 0, ay still acts, ay still acts. So uy will keep on increasing, uy will keep on increasing. The ux has reached its maximum. That's quickly understood because the horizontal force is absent, right? So and the friction is not there to retard it also. So what happens over here? So when value of which are the falling vanish, it vanishes. So what vanishes? What vanishes? The acceleration of the horizontal, that ax0, that is acceleration of the lower ball, vanishes. So I have an option B, corrected. Acceleration of the upper ball, no, that is not 0. It cannot be 0. Why it cannot be 0? Because the gravity is still acting on it. We'll definitely pull it down, definitely bring it down. So C is the wrong option here. Normal reaction from the floor on the lower ball, of course it is there, it cannot vanish. There is a contact with it, this contact is broken, this contact is never broken. It's absolutely wrong. Now it comes to A part, on which we did not even think about in the first question. And what it is asking about? It's asking the tensile force in the rod. We did not even check upon that, or we checked. Let's see where. Let's see where we checked. We checked in the constraint, where we said this should be having a correct tension force, the correct tensile force, either of compressive nature or of the tensile nature. It must be there. Then only this constraint is there. Then only you are able to relate them. But now what is happening? Now what is happening? That the question is telling that this contact is broken. This contact is broken over here. Now the constraint which was there changes. So that constraint was till that contact was there. And now if that constraint is over, and now this rod is not under tension anymore, or any compression over there, because the constraint is not required right now. The conditions have changed beyond this. So hence that tensile force in this particular rod over here becomes 0 as it has left this contact. So you have seen this, what happens? What happens is sometimes a question takes your concentration on a particular portion and might not take you to the another part of the question. What we have done in this particular question is we have checked that whatever the question can ask you. Of course, if the friction is there, that the question can be taken up to another verdict. Already we have been using more than one concept over here, which classifies this particular problem to be an actual advanced problem or an Olympiad level 2 problem. That is not basically an SEP problem, that is supposed to be the INPHO problem, right? So we have understood this particular question in good health, and why it is an advanced question, let's quickly check upon, because we dealt this particular question in 4 concepts. The concept 1, as a quick revision, was to be the constraint which we used. The concept 2 which we used over here was to create a FBD, right? To create a FBD and check in the center mass behavior. So COM accelerations. And we checked upon the concept 3, that's supposed to be the work energy behavior or energy transformation, either the work energy theorem or the energy transformation, whichever. So I personally go by the work energy theorem a lot more. In this it was easy because conservative forces were there, non-conservative force friction was not there. And lastly, the concept number 4, and that was for using the maximum minimum. So I think this time has been well spent by you and by me on dealing with the multiple concepts in a single question. We'll be coming back with the next kind of such behavior in our next, and this will be an order very regularly, right? So thank you for your time.